And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to the next endurance race on the NNSCRA Sports Channel. This is the NNSCRA endurance race at Thornton, and we are getting ready for 25 laps of racing. Now, that might not exactly seem like an endurance race, being just 25 laps. However, this is a big 14-mile racetrack. This racetrack actually can't really be classified as a racetrack. It's actually a whole bunch of highways and byways and side streets all merged together, creating one large street course. It's all capped off on the final corner by a 40-foot drop to a quarry below, and there is no guardrail to save these drivers from pummeling to a very scary fate. And with the high speeds, we'll see these drivers running here today in the DW12 mod. They may end up flying off the turn of death in ways that we've never seen before. But we're getting ready here today. 25 laps, as I said. Since it's an endurance race, there's no full course yellows. It's basically just going to be local yellow flags, and we'll see who's going to come out on top in today's race. Brandon Krasta and Ian Siegel, they line up on the front row, and we will show you your starting lineup on the bottom of your screen of the remainder of the drivers. It's going to be a very, very interesting race to be sure, and we may end up seeing some pit strategy come into play into this one for sure, with the fact that these drivers are going to be going completely caution-free for 25 laps. I'm pretty sure the fuel window for these cars is not a full 25 laps around a 14-mile racetrack. If they've got that kind of fuel tanks, then I think that NNSCRA needs to take a look and see what kind of mystical powers they're using. But anyway, it's time to get these cars rolling off, so let's do that right now as we're going to see the pace car show off its speed as it's going to go flying here in just a moment. Here you see everybody lined up, and we'll be showing you everybody during the course of this race. I believe Brandon Krasta is credited as the pole sitter. You'll see it when we get to the when you see the starting lineup. I think Krasta's the pole sitter. Maybe it's Ian Siegel. I don't know. But here we go. Coming down to the line. Ian Siegel, Brandon Krasta. Get the NNSCRA endurance race at Thornton underway. We are green. Over the train tracks they go. Low suspension on these cars, so I'm not sure how all these elevation changes and bumps are going to affect these drivers. As now they head down through the middle of this little tiny rural community. Through the S's, surrounded by guardrails on either side. Ian Siegel continuing to show the way. We should just quickly look at the back just in case anybody's run into problems. As Richard Johnson at the very tail end of the field, and he is still up to speed, so nobody has run into problems yet. It's a long race, so I'm not expecting these drivers to be making any stupid moves early on, because one false move can take you out of this win. As they're 3 wide for the lead. Ian Siegel on the inside. Brandon Krasta outside. Way outside is Lyndon Wright. Hard to see this battle. They are still 3 wide. Now I think Lyndon Wright got the better run off that corner, and he'll go to the lead. Now the battle's on for second. Brandon Krasta is going to keep it. Davey Johnson was trying to take it. Now he'll settle into third just ahead of Ian Siegel. Now up to fourth. That's Joe Davis in the 20. All starting to get single file, starting to find their places in line. Could be a lot of jostling of camera angles, just a warning. Because this racetrack, some camera angles work where other ones do not. Now they're battling for second again. Davey Johnson jumping to what would technically be, I guess you would call the high side until you get down to the right-hander at the end of this straightaway on Brandon Krasta. Whoa, not giving much room there as they're going to go 3 wide. Look at the move there by Joe Davis. And off this corner, is everybody okay? Looks like everybody off the corner is good. That's one of the trouble spots here. A lot of drivers will spin out and head into oncoming traffic on the highway just to the other side of that safer barrier. Ryan Jackson Jr. in the 17 has now cracked the top 5 as he just moved by Ian Siegel for position. Right behind him, Joe Davis. Anthony McCrory, well-known endurance racer, up there and scored in the 7th position right now. And actually, I believe he just got a bit of the shoulder. That's going to kill his momentum. That actually allows a couple drivers to get by. Joseph Swigley there in the 98. And that orange and blue machine. Who is that? That is Austin LaPlante in the 83. Look at him fanning out 4 wide down this straightaway. We're getting close to the trouble spot, the worst trouble spot of this racetrack, known to every driver in the NR community as the turn of death. And for that, we're going to be switching over to our TV1 camera. Oh, one car just flew up and over the guardrail. It might have been Austin LaPlante. Someone just flew over the guardrail there in the S-turn. Oh my word. Went airborne. I think it was LaPlante. Now we're going to go to our Nun camera because there comes the turn of death. We're going to see if anybody flies off in this first lap, the completion of the first lap. So far, everybody trying to be careful here, going off this corner. Oh, whoa, that was close. One car was almost half off. Whoa, so was another. And it looks like they all get through. Well, wait a minute, there's some stragglers here. Oh, there goes some 3, 4 cars. About 3 of them, I think it was. One of them, I think, might have been Johnny Gardner. The 77. Yes, he's on pit road now. Andrew Rich has fallen off the turn of death. Matt Dalio as well. Jackie Tang. Andrew Rich now on pit road. That's the Phantom Seth Cole car. Pay no attention. I'm looking here, and maybe the car that went airborne. Well, no, there's Austin LaPlante way at the back here now. Johnny Gardner now leaving pit road. I don't know if that's a regularly scheduled stop for the 77 or not. Lyndon Wright, still the leader of this thing. Ever since he got to the front, nobody's really been able to pass him. And you can see all the cars now snaking down the straightaway as they finally have all gotten into single file formation, but not before a number of drivers having stuff happen here early on in this endurance race. That may have taken Andrew Rich completely out of this. Matthew Dalio as well. Jackie Tang. Their days may be completely over. Johnny Gardner is still on the lead lap, a long ways back, but he made a pit stop. Now off pit sequence with everybody else. There's Austin LaPlante. I'm pretty sure he's the one I saw go airborne. I may be incorrect, though. Got some stragglers back here. Got Emmett Juckin, Elijah Gordon, Richard Johnson, Benjamin Miles all back here. They may be just biding their time, and then you got the tail end of the lead pack, which snakes from first all the way back to about the 30th position. Up at the front, battle on for the second position. Ryan Jackson Jr. has it, and I believe that's Davey Johnson looking for it. It is indeed. Right behind him, offering some drafting help, Lisa Gonzalez in the 40. First time we've seen her up inside the top 5. And right behind her, you got Brandon Crasta, who's been in the top 5 ever since we went green. Everybody going to get through this trouble spot fairly well. Looks like things have settled into a bit of a run now as far as drivers keeping it together. So for a brief moment, we're going to step aside and we're going to try and see if we can find out what happened to the 83 of LaPlante, the 77 of Gardner, and also get an in-depth replay of what happened to the 3 drivers that have already fallen off the turn of death, Andrew Rich, Jackie Tang, and Matthew Dalio. So here's what happens with Austin LaPlante. Just takes it way wide, and nobody touched him. He just started riding the guardrail. Look at that. Now, the fortunate thing for him is the car did not flip over, so I'm pretty certain he was able to still be able to continue because of that. Don't know what that did to the rear suspension, though, in that machine. Then he comes back out into traffic, still on his side, and this is where he's going to get hit. Johnny Gardner goes to pit road because right there with the right front of his machine, his Honda, he gets LaPlante. There was another car that got a piece of that. I think that might have been the 10 car of Elijah Gordon. And then LaPlante continues on. And it was a number of these stragglers back here that I think actually fell off the turn of death afterwards. But man, a wild ride there for Austin LaPlante. Johnny Gardner getting a piece of it as well as Elijah Gordon. And then we're going to go further up here, and I believe it was a whole cluster of drivers that all fell off the turn of death together. We're going to look here with Andrew Rich. Just ahead of him, I believe, is the car of Matthew Dallio. Now let's see what happens off this corner. The black car is Dallio. The white and blue car is Rich. And just behind them, I think, is Jackie Tang. They all just take it wide. My goodness, look at the fall that all three of these drivers are experiencing. They're still going 100 miles per hour at the time. Oh, Tang's car landed upside down. Oh my goodness. And there's Dallio. I don't know if his car landed upside down or not. Let's see. Well, it kind of landed on its side and then began to barrel roll there on that quarry floor. The only car that really landed on all four wheels was Andrew Rich, but you got to think that just that landing would jostle the driver around. Tang upside down, though. Hope he's okay. And same for Matt Dallio, who went barrel rolling. There you see, going on the top right of your screen, that was the Jackie Tang machine still upside down. Hope that he is okay. So that's what happened there, and they're approaching the turn of death for the second time, so we're heading back to live action now. Drivers now into the oh, another car just rode the wall. I think that might have been Brandon Crasta. Same thing that happened to Austin LaPlante, I think just happened to Brandon Crasta in the 61. We'll go back and look at that momentarily, but we're here to the turn of death for the second time. We've had 3 victims already fall prey to the 40-foot drop. Will there be any more? Freezing the camera to see. With everything single file, maybe they'll all get through it. Whoa, one car took it wide there. That was, I think, the 98. Close call there for, that was Joseph Srigley. And everybody else, I think, got through it okay. Want to quickly take a look at the 61 of Crasta. There he is, still running. I'm pretty certain his was the car that I saw go up on the guardrail like we saw happen to Austin LaPlante a lap before. Maybe not, though. See if there's any other stragglers that maybe it could have been. Are 3 still on pit road that fell off the turn of death before? There's LaPlante back in 38th, Elijah Gordon back in 37th. They were involved in the LaPlante incident back on almost the completion of lap 1. Then there's Benjamin Miles and company. Yeah, if you look up here, the 61 of Brandon Crasta lost a lot of ground. I think he was the driver that went up on the guardrail, but I think the fortunate thing for him was he probably got it back down on all 4 wheels, and he's still running, but now he's back just outside of the top 10. Just lost a spot there to Levi McIntyre in the 99. Let's give you a full field rundown up to this point, at least of who's running in the top 10. Lyndon Wright is your leader. 2nd place, Davey Johnson. 3rd is Ryan Jackson Jr. 4th, Lisa Gonzalez. 5th place, Joe Davis. 6th place is Zach Rogers. He's done a great job moving the Ryan Hunter Ray 28 up into the top 10. 7th place is Ian Siegel. 8th place, Anthony McCrory. 9th place, Jeffrey Finguy. Levi McIntyre right now is in 10th. Let's go further back. 11th is Brandon Crasta. 12th place, Tony Green. 13th, Joseph Srigley. 14th is Ann Dutta. 15th, Marco Martinez. In 16th place is Kyle Collins. 17th is Stephen Pollard III. 18th place is Chrisman Morgan. Cody Lamas runs right now in the 19th position, and completing the top 20 is Ben Braley. 21st is Caleb Hoffman. 22nd, Sam Rogers. 23rd, Noah Ponzer. 24th, John Cittadino. 25th, James Shelley. 26th, JT Bryant. 27th is Keon Eddington. 28th rather, Robert Piet. 29th is Jonathan Zorling, and Angel Navarro completes the top 30. 31st is Garrett Snyder. 32nd, James Qualls. 33rd place, Max Neuwirth. 34th will be Emmett Juckin. 35th place is actually under contest. Benjamin Miles has it, dropping Richard Johnson back to 36th. Way back in 37th is Elijah Gordon, still on the lead lap. Same for Austin LaPlante, who is 38th. 39th place, still on the lead lap as well, is Johnny Gardner. And then 40th, 41st, 42nd are the three drivers currently sitting on pit road. Matthew Dalio, Jackie Tang, and Andrew Rich. So that's your full field rundown. Up to this point, we have completed 2 laps, about to complete the 3rd lap of 25. Just to give an example of just how long it takes for these drivers to get around this racetrack. We are approaching 12 minutes, which means we have been under the green flag for a little bit less than 7 minutes. And we've only completed 2 laps, about to complete 3 in just a moment. Through this corner, is anybody going to ride the guardrail? Brandon Crasta, oh, that's that Brandon Crasta? That's not Brandon Crasta, that's Ryan Jackson Jr. did it this time. 3 drivers have fallen off the turn of death, or is anybody going to this time? Everybody avoided the 40-foot drop this last time around. Lyndon Wright leads him off the final corner. There's Ryan Jackson Jr. He was able to get back on all 4 wheels. Wow, close call there for the 14 of Ian Dutta. Whoa, another close call there. Don't know who that was, but it looks like everybody's going to get through it okay. There is Elijah Gordon in the 10. You'll see Austin LaPlante momentarily in the 83. No, maybe you won't. Lyndon Wright has dominated so far. After getting to the lead, he has not looked back, and nobody's really been able to challenge him. Lisa Gonzalez very comfortably riding in the 2nd position. Then you got Davey Johnson, the 20 of Joe Davis, and then Zach Rogers in the 28, now completing the top 5. A very different looking top 5 from what we had when we started this race. And the top 5 have actually all broken away, and the only thing I can assume for that reasoning is because possibly that incident we saw happen with that driver, Ryan Jackson Jr., may have slowed all these other drivers up. Ian Siegel way back here along with the 17 of Jackson Jr., Jeffrey Finguy here as well, Brandon Crasta, Tony Green, and Levi McIntyre. So it'll be interesting when these drivers decide they actually have to pit. That'll give us an idea of what the fuel window is for this race. Right now, completely left in the dark, because most of the time in races that I've held here at Thornton, they haven't gone this long. And with that being said, they haven't had any need to come to pit road. Most of the time, the pit frequency that I put on for these drivers is 1x. This is the longest race that I have ever commentated, taking place here at Thornton. Battle may be on for the lead very shortly. Lisa Gonzalez has some friends in the right-hand lane, Davey Johnson and Joe Davis, to the inside of Lyndon Wright for the top position. I would have to think that Indy cars, or Formula One cars, what have you, would have to follow the same line of physics that normal Cup cars would have to. And to me, that would seem that if you're in the slipstream of another driver, you're going to get better fuel mileage. So with Lyndon Wright being out in front as long as he has been, he's been cutting the wind for other drivers, and that 96, while he's enjoying the view out in front, may also be using up a lot more fuel than the other drivers behind him that have been using his draft. And he's going to go back to the lead. Joe Davis going to help push him there. Davey Johnson's got Zach Rogers helping him as they're going to move by for 3rd and 4th place. Lisa Gonzalez goes from 1st place all the way back to 5th in the matter of a few thousand feet down that straightaway. And now they're going to split 3 wide. Looks like that was potentially for the lead. Davey Johnson thought about going up the middle, now tucks back in line behind Lyndon Wright. Joe Davis might be left without a drafting partner as they'll head here into the S-turns. Once again, Oh, there's a car up and into the guardrail. That time it was the 20 of Joe Davis. Driver's just having difficulty making that turn. So Joe Davis, who was inside the top 5, up and into the guardrail. That's the, I think, 3rd driver, 4th driver that's visited that guardrail today. This cameraman's got to be bored out of his mind, having to just sit here and wait for these drivers to come around off the final turn. Now it's a 4-car breakaway up at the front. Whoa, close call there for the 4-car of Chrisman Morgan. Looks like everybody gets through it okay, and everybody's still good to go. Only 3 drivers have fallen off the turn of death up to this point. Let's hope no others. Lyndon Wright leads. 2nd place, Davey Johnson. Zach Rogers 3rd. 4th place is Lisa Gonzalez, and then it's a long ways back to, I believe, Levi McIntyre up in the 5th spot. No, it's not. It's Jeffrey Finguy. Finguy now in 5th. 6th, Tony Green. 7th, Ian Siegel. Then it's Levi McIntyre. Brandon Krasta and Ian Dutta now has jumped up into the top 10. Let's follow the 20 of Joe Davis. And he's on pit road. Is anybody else on pit road with him? With the exception of the 3 that fell off the turn of death. It does not look like it. So Joe Davis apparently going for a wild ride. Stephen Pollard III is way back here, so he might have been collected up in whatever happened to the Joe Davis machine. Not certain. Move back up to the front. Lyndon Wright continues to be your race leader. It's a 4-car breakaway at the front. Let's see what happened to the 20 of Joe Davis and see if we can also find out why the 12 of Stephen Pollard III is so far back. Same deal we've had happen with Austin LaPlante, with Brandon Krasta, with Ryan Jackson Jr. Happens here to Joe Davis. The car just kind of wiggles and steps out on him, it seems. Sends him up into the guardrail. He rides the guardrail around, and unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the same luck that LaPlante, Jackson Jr. had, in the fact that the car is not going to settle back on all 4 wheels. Instead, the car just stays stationary on its side and then catches that little catch fence there and is not able to go back on all 4 wheels. Everybody scatters to the left in order to avoid. Man, that's got to be scary, coming around a right-hander and then having to jerk further to the left. Probably messed up a lot of these drivers' entry. So that's what happens to Joe Davis. Let's find out what happened to Stephen Pollard III now. This was 1 lap earlier than what we just saw happen with Joe Davis. Stephen Pollard III gets the guardrail, the car wheel hops, and then jumps up into, I believe that was Kyle Collins in the 63. And then Stephen Pollard III actually goes through the woods here, through the forest. Where did the 63 go in all relation to that? There's Collins, and he's off there in the forest somewhere. See if our helicopter can find him. Oh, he's still spinning. Goes out into the abyss. And I think he actually is going to hit the edge of the world. He did. Well, it's Kyle Collins going for a wild ride. And then Stephen Pollard III, something else really strange happens with him. He's going to bring the car back on the racetrack. And then watch this weird glitch that's going to happen with the 12 as he brings it back up on track, way wide. Kind of cut the corner there. Now watch this. Let's fast forward just a little bit so you can see it. Alright, so he's coming here. He's heading for pit road, and then watch this glitch that happens with him. At least I think it was a glitch. Oh no, maybe not. Just slowing up here to get to his pit stall. There is no pit wall at this track. They all can just turn right off and onto the pit lane. Okay, so I guess there wasn't a glitch. He just comes to his pit stall. So he's still on the lead lap as Stephen Pollard III, but we also got to find out when we get back to live action, where has the 63 of Kyle Collins gotten? Has he found his way back on track? Because he went way off the racetrack. Total of 5 laps completed. They did go past the turn of death, but nobody fell off, so we're able to report that. So up to this point, only 3 drivers have fallen off the turn of death. It all took place at the completion of lap number 1. Since then, nobody else has taken the 40-foot drop. We are still awaiting medical evaluation on those 3 drivers that did fall off the turn of death. Matthew Dallio, Andrew Rich, and we're also very, very worried about the one that took the worst fall off the turn of death, and that was, of course, my brain's just all of a sudden turned off. I'm not able to remember who it was. Jackie Tang in the 33. So still waiting for medical updates from the infield care center on those drivers. Only one other driver is currently sitting stationary on pit road, and that is the 20 car of Joe Davis, who we saw just moments ago why he had to teleport to pit road. Kyle Collins has actually returned back to the racetrack. There he is in the 39th position. Not certain, but he just might have passed Johnny Gardner for position. At this particular point, we have a total, I believe, of 39 drivers still on the lead lap. The only drivers that have been put a lap down are the 4 that are sitting on the pit lane. Matter of fact, while we have the opportunity, let's bring up the ticker here so you can see who is running where. Lyndon Wright last time by was scored the leader, Davey Johnson second, Zach Rogers third, and Lisa Gonzalez in fourth. Those 4 have broken away from the remainder of the field up to this point. You got 5th place right now actually under contest. Tony Green looking for the spot. You got Ian Siegel in this group, Jeffrey Finguy, Levi McIntyre. Brandon Krasta trying to catch up along with Ian Dutta. That's your top 10. Siegel now bypasses Tony Green. That is for the 5th position. Still have not yet seen these drivers have to come to pit road yet, so the fuel window still remains a mystery. This is not the battle for the lead. This is for the 5th position between Tony Green and Ian Siegel, with Jeffrey Finguy, Levi McIntyre right behind. The battle for the lead, there really isn't one right now. These 4 are seeming pretty content to just kind of ride with each other and keep themselves out ahead of the remainder of the field, which is actually really good strategy, especially for an endurance race. Especially at a type of endurance race like this one, because this track, yes, it's got some twists and turns, but it's got a lot of straightaways, and if drivers can get themselves lined up, especially with these kind of cars with such low downforce, they can create a big, big slipstream and a lot of speed down these straightaways before they all have to break up heading into a turn. You can just see the gap that these 4 have been able to make with the way they've been able to stay single file with each other. Into probably the toughest turn of the racetrack. You wouldn't think it, but it is. A lot of drivers have had difficulty with it, as Lyndon Wright's about to enter the turn of death one more time. This will complete lap 5 of 25, meaning that we'll be 1/5 of the way there. Coming off the final corner, I don't expect anyone from the top 4 to have problems getting around. Well, at least Gonzalez took it a little wider than maybe would have been wise. There's your top 10, moving on through. Where did Ian Dutta go? I think Ian Dutta might have had some trouble. 14 was not up in the top 10 anymore. Let's find him. Maybe I missed him, but I'm pretty certain. There he is, right there. I think Ian Dutta might have run into some problems there in the S turn with the guardrail, perhaps, as now he has dropped all the way back and is now scored in the 33rd position after he was just up inside the top 10. Anthony McCrory has actually now jumped to the 10th position after the problems that were just had by Ian Dutta. Caleb Hoffman has now jumped up to 9th. So wait, that means another driver must have had some problems. Who would that have been? Who's another driver that was up inside the top 10 that now no longer is? Cycling through here, trying to find said driver. And I'm not seeing him yet. There is Dutta. And, oh, Levi McIntyre. He's on pit road. That's the other driver that was just up in the top 10. So something just happened with Levi McIntyre and Ian Dutta, apparently. You wouldn't think that those simple little S's would be the biggest trouble spot of this racetrack, but they've cost good finishes of at least 6 to 7 drivers now, which is a 2-to-1 ratio on the drivers that have been affected by the turn of death. We've completed 5 laps. We are now on lap 6. Let's take a look and see what happened as a couple of top 10 contenders, Ian Dutta, Levi McIntyre, may have now just been eliminated from competing for the win here in the endurance race at Thornton. It is worth mentioning that Levi McIntyre just moments ago has returned back to the racetrack, and I believe he's still on the lead lap, but let's see what happens to him. And I'm almost thinking we're going to see the same thing we've seen happen to a number of drivers already today, including LaPlante, Ryan Jackson Jr., Brandon Crasta, Joe Davis. See if the car steps out on him. There you see it. Car just swings around. Ian Dutta had basically the same thing happen, but he didn't go up and ride the guardrail. Levi McIntyre did. Oh, and then Dutta does. Synchronized wall riding there between Levi McIntyre and Ian Dutta. Just carrying so much speed into that corner that the tires, I think the brakes just kind of lock up, especially when they're in that higher groove where there's not as much tire rubber. You see some other drivers making the left-hand turn there, and they're just kind of slipping and sliding, and then it was kind of like a bump draft there. A vertical 90-degree bump draft from Ian Dutta to Levi McIntyre, and McIntyre's car, much like we saw happen with Joe Davis, just does not come back down on its wheels. And Ian Dutta was actually held up and was not able to continue. Oh, wait, actually, I think Levi's car actually comes down to rest on top of Ian Dutta's machine. And Ian has to sit there and wait until Levi McIntyre's car either gets back on all 4 wheels or teleports. Oh, no, I don't think, no, the 14, no, he wasn't on top of the 14. He just got lodged up there in the catch fence, did the 99. And he's going to finally teleport at some point here. Ian Dutta will then be able to fire the car up, continue on. But Levi McIntyre is still on the lead lap. That is worth mentioning. He actually did make a pit stop as well, so he may be a little bit better on fuel than a number of these other drivers now, who have yet to even come to pit road. So we'll see how that plays out, as that's what happened there. 2 more drivers who were running inside the top 10 at the time getting involved. We're going to stop and take a commercial break here, as we are about 1/5 of the way through this race, 20% through. Lyndon Wright is your current leader here in the NNSCRA endurance race at Thornton. Welcome back to the NNSCRA endurance race at Thornton. Back after our commercial break. And due to NNSCRA Nonstop, you can see that we have a new leader of this race, Zach Rogers. Now going to the point, bypassing the current leader at the time. As you can see, everybody's still continuing to run. I believe we haven't even had a DNF yet in this race. We of course have had a number of drivers have to teleport to pit road after falling off the famed turn of death, and some other drivers having some difficulty with the S turn just before the turn of death with the guardrail section. However, I don't think anybody has officially retired from this race yet. Speaking of race, let's give you a full field rundown. We haven't done that in a while, and just coming back from commercial break, show you where everybody's running here during lap 7. Right now, Zach Rogers is the leader, but he's about to maybe lose the lead back to Lyndon Wright. Lyndon right now scored in 2nd place. Lisa Gonzalez is currently in 3rd. 4th place right beside her is Davy Johnson. These 4 have broken away. It's quite a ways back here to a battle for 5th. Caleb Hoffman now has 5th place. 6th, Jeffrey Finguy. 7th, Brandon Crasta. 8th, Tony Green. And 9th is Ian Siegel. 10th place under contest, Cody Lamas currently holds it. 11th, Joseph Strigley. 12th, John Cittadino. 13th, James Shelley. And Ben Braley right now runs in 14th. 15th place, that's Noah Pontzer. As we'll wait for the camera angle to actually show his car. There he is, running by himself. 16th place, that's Marco Martinez. And then completing the rest of the top 20, Sam Rogers, Ryan Jackson Jr., Emmett Juckin, and I missed somebody there, Angel Navarro. And the 21st place scored right now is Jonathan Zorling. And there's trouble! A couple of cars just spun. Brandon Crasta, and I believe that was James Shelley in the other machine. Yes, the 24 target machine. They both just spun in that turn. 2 drivers who were running, I believe, just outside the top 10. Crasta last time by was 5th. Shelley last time by was 13th. And now they have all but maybe taken themselves out of an opportunity for this win. First time we've seen that turn actually be a problem spot for drivers. As Lyndon Wright's about to come down and complete lap 7. Oh, pit stops here on lap 7. So we finally know the pit window. They can make it roughly about 7 laps, and they're coming onto pit lane. Lyndon Wright pulls into his pit stall. Just ahead of him, that's Brandon Crasta, who we just saw had to teleport to pit road after both himself and James Shelley kind of got stuck in the grass area and could not get going. I think possibly Brandon Crasta's problem was he was stuck more on the banking than anything. Lyndon Wright down and away. Look at Lisa Gonzalez trying to drag race him off pit road. Now let's see if anybody stayed out. Oh, looks like another car got out ahead. Jonathan Zorling scored in 2nd. Noah Pontzer in 1st. So I think maybe Pontzer and Zorling stayed out this lap. But I think they may have been the only 2. I'm not sure. So Noah Pontzer, there are no points in this race. This is simply an endurance race, a one and done kind of deal. A special event, so there are no points for leading a lap. Noah Pontzer, however, may be feeling he can get good track position when he has to come to pit road. But here's the thing I'm wondering. If Lyndon Wright and the leaders could not make it and had to come to pit road on lap 7, is it at all possible that a driver like Noah Pontzer, who I believe was 15th at the time that drivers decided to make their pit stops, is it possible for those kind of drivers to, I don't know, maybe be able to make it another full lap? Remember, it's about 14 miles. We'll see if they can make it a full 8 laps. If they can, then some drivers may start conserving fuel and making this just a simple one more stop to the finish. They'd pit somewhere around lap maybe 16, 17 and try and stretch to the end. So Pontzer's the leader, Zorling's in 2nd. Those 2 I think have yet to come to pit road. Lisa Gonzalez is now in the 3rd position, Lyndon Wright back in 4th, and Davy Johnson 5th. So these 3 right here have already been to pit road. They are good to go as far as not running out of fuel this lap, but I would highly question if the 27 and the 8 can make it a full lap more on fuel. So far, there has been no sputtering at all in that 27 machine. As a matter of fact, let's go on board with him and listen to how the engine sounds and see if it sounds like he's anywhere close to running out. Didn't sound like it at all to me. Apologize for that brief little lag there. I actually stopped the recording for a brief moment just to replay back that last clip I had just done. Basically for the sole purpose I'm using the my old headphone set and microphone set, because the one that I have for my new microphone set, I'm still trying to learn how to adjust volume and everything. And when I listened back the first portion before I went to commercial break, man, that was really loud, and I apologize if that was hard for you guys to listen to. But I just listened back with this one, and it's a much more level audios, and so I'll be using this headphone set for the remainder of this endurance race. As Noah Poncer makes his way sneakily through the S's, and no doubt about it, we're going to see him in this lap, as well as Jonathan Zorling. I don't see how these two can make it another lap around on the fuel given them. Let's see if indeed the indication by Noah Poncer is that he is coming to pit road. And there you see, could have pulled down towards the inside, and he'll make his way to pit road. I believe we're going to see Zorling doing the exact same thing. So we got a couple of drivers on pit road that we haven't seen before. Garrett Snyder in the 15, Elijah Gordon in the 10. Graham Rahal number 15 and the Scott Dixon number 10 are both on pit road. Something happened to them. Lisa Gonzalez will cycle back around as the leader now, as she was the fastest off pit road of the drivers that came down pit road at the completion of lap 7. Second place, Lyndon Wright, Davey Johnson there in third. Fourth place, now Zach Rogers, quite a ways back. Jeffrey Finguy up to fifth. Tony Green is 6th, Ian Siegel 7th, 8th Caleb Hoffman, 9th John Cittadino, and completing your top 10 would be Cody Lamas. So let's take a brief moment, look back and see two different incidents that have taken place since we got back from commercial break. We're first going to see the incident that involved Brandon Krasta and James Shelley, and then we'll see why Garrett Snyder and name just failed me. The name just left my brain. Who is it? Elijah Gordon. Why they are currently so far back, because it looked like Richard Johnson just came and hit pit road along with Robert Piet. Quite a few drivers a long ways back just now making pit stops as well. So let's see what happened to those drivers in those two incidents, as your current leader still at the moment is Lisa Gonzalez. Well, checking here what happened. This is a battle for the 5th position. Looks like Brandon Kraft is going to get a little bit of help from Ian Siegel. Snaps his car loose, up and into the steel guardrail. Car actually goes flipping up onto its roof, and then comes back down as it's barrel rolling right in front of traffic, oncoming traffic, and the one that's going to get the hit right there, James Shelley on the inside line, nowhere to go. Hard hit right there for the 24, as well as the 61. A wild ride there for Krasta. And both drivers, one was running just outside the top 10, the other one was in the 5th position. First time we've seen trouble in that spot. Look at all these other drivers have to scatter to the high side in order to try and avoid. Well, this was when everybody else was making pit stops. And right there, Garrett Snyder had just completed his pit service, was getting ready to leave pit road, and Marco Martinez just comes right out in front of him and sends him out into the racetrack, into the racing surface. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe the same thing might have happened to Elijah Gordon in the 10, who at this point is already teleported back to pit road. Let's rewind just a little bit here and see if he gets hit by someone. Oh, he's going to get contact with Richard Johnson. As he's coming into his pit stall, Richard Johnson I think, had just completed his service, and as Gordon's coming in, Johnson is coming out. This explains why Richard Johnson was on pit road a second time right there. Johnson was in the pit stall, and oh my goodness, look at that. Elijah Gordon just kind of forces his way in. Richard Johnson, my goodness, fighting and jostling on pit road for spots, and you'll see up ahead, you'll see the incident with Marco Martinez and Garrett Snyder. There's Martinez, the yellow car, pulling out, and Garrett Snyder getting hit. Marco's car might have actually gotten airborne, I'm not certain. But my goodness, that was on lap 7 when we saw Lisa Gonzalez, Lyndon Wright, and a number of the leaders come to pit road. This is everybody else that came on pit road on that lap as well. And Marco bouncing as he tries to get his car turned back around. That explains why Richard Johnson made another pit stop and was so far back. And I believe we've actually been told that we have a couple of drivers that have retired from the race at this point. So we'll get to those in just a minute as we head back to live action. We're back. Lap 10 just went on the board. Lap 9 completed here in this endurance race. We are not even yet to the halfway point of this race. Halfway point will be midway through lap 12. So we're getting close, but we are not there yet. Slower car up ahead that may go a lap down, that being Marco Martinez, who I think probably was on pit road a second time to repair the damage after the contact with Garrett Snyder, and he is miserably off the pace, as you can see. Lisa Gonzalez now going to blow by him, as well as Davey Johnson and Lyndon Wright, your current top 3. John Cittadino, right now, he runs in 4th place. 5th place is Ian Siegel. Tony Green 6th, 7th Caleb Hoffman. Jeffrey Finguy runs 8th, 9th Zach Rogers. Joseph Srigley right now is in 10th. Emmett Juckins 11th, 12th Ben Braley, 13th Noah Ponser. Sam Rogers 14th, Angel Navarro 15th, Ryan Jackson Jr. is 16th, 17th place is Jonathan Zorling, James Qualls 18th, 19th place Ben Miles, and clean top 20 Chrisman Morgan. A couple of drivers who were up here are missing. There's Anthony McCrory, he was up near the front earlier on, he's now all the way back in 24th. And where is Cody Lamas? Lamas is on pit road. Something happened to Cody? I don't know. Elijah Gordon, Garrett Snyder still sitting on pit road. Robert Piette way off the pace, way back, currently scoring 30th. Levi McIntyre, who was up in the top 10 earlier on, he's now back in 31st. Joe Davis back in 32nd. Johnny Gardner 33rd after, I don't know how that car is still going. And then it's back to Lisa Gonzalez. So at this particular point in time, with the 2 drivers that are sitting on pit road, we do have some drivers that have retired from the race at this particular point in time, including Brandon Crasta, James Shelley, I believe the 3, JT Bryant has retired from this race. And also missing on track are the 21, 33, and 6. That'd be Andrew Rich finishing 40th. Jackie Tang finishing 41st, and Matthew Dalio finishing 42nd. Of course, those 3 were the ones that fell off the turn of death back, I think it was on lap 2. So right now, our DNF totals 6 drivers. Still question mark on whether Elijah Gordon or Garrett Snyder will return back onto the track. If they don't, then we'll have a total of 8 drivers currently out of this race. One driver is a lap down still running. That, of course, we just saw Marco Martinez going a lap down to the current leader, Lisa Gonzalez. A lot can happen, though. It doesn't really matter where you are on track. We've seen drivers run into problems quite a bit here, and after these drivers get through this section, I just want to check and see if Cody Lamas has continued on, because something might have happened to the 1. He was up inside the top 10. I think he was in the 10th position at the time. We haven't done it in a while since things spread out, but we'll go to our camera off the final corner and watch the field as they all make their way past the turn of death, which hasn't been much of a factor since the very early portion of this race. You can see just how far back it is to John Cittadino, Ian Siegel, and company. And then here comes another group right there. Wow, that was a little wide turn. Everybody, for the most part, though, since they're all spread out, they're seeming satisfied to run single file out of that final corner, which allows all of them to be able to make the turn safely and not fall off the 40-foot drop. So let's check about Cody Lamas, see if he's been able to return to the track or if he still sits on pit road. And he is indeed back on track, and I think he's still on the lead lap, but he's in the 32nd position. I'd be curious to know what happened on that machine. I don't think he was on pit road for a regularly scheduled pit stop, because he came down pit road with everybody else on lap 7. But whatever the case, we got a battle on for the second position. Lyndon Wright went way wide, giving plenty of room to Davey Johnson, who will move into the second position. Right now, if it comes down to the strongest cars on track, you gotta look no further than the top 3. Lisa Gonzalez, Davey Johnson, Lyndon Wright have all been up here at the front. Lyndon Wright led a good portion of the first half of the segment so far, and then Lisa Gonzalez, after beating Lyndon off pit road after the cycle of pit stops, has pretty much been leading ever since lap 7. And these three, while they've been racing each other from 4th on back, they've kind of been racing each other too, so the gap they've been able to put between themselves and 4th on back is pretty much kind of maintained itself. Which means when we get to pit stops, which, if my calculations are correct, are projected somewhere between, lap 14, 15, somewhere in that range, then who knows? These drivers, with this advantage they've got of the gap between themselves and 4th place on back, they'd be able to have a fairly clean pit road to make their stop on. We saw how pit road has already been a factor, costing a chance of a good finish of drivers such as Garrett Snyder, Elijah Thornton, Marco Martinez, and Richard Johnson. We'll jump back, see if there's any battling going on here. John Cittadino very strongly in that 4th position. We really didn't talk much about John earlier on, as he was kind of mired back in the field. He's done a nice job of bouncing up here into the top 5. John Cittadino, well-known endurance racer, and no surprise to be seeing him up here as we're getting close to the halfway point. Ian Siegel right behind him. Now, Ian's actually another driver that's not fallen outside of the top 10 very much today. And a nice run there for Caleb Hoffman in the 25 as well. Haven't really given him much credit, and there he is running in 6th. We're getting close to very close to hitting the halfway point of this endurance race. Lisa Gonzalez is your leader. We're going to take our second commercial break, and we'll be right back. You won't miss a bit of the action as we're going to go NNSCRA non-stop.